And now to introduce our next leader, President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping. Please welcome Miles Hurrell, CEO of Fonterra.
Ina mana, ina reo, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Miles Hurrell aho. It's a pleasure to be with you all here today. My name is Miles Hurrell. I'm the CEO of the Fonterra Cooperative Group, a New Zealand dairy farming cooperative owned by 10,000 farming families. We deliver the goodness of New Zealand dairy to over 130 markets around the world, and I'm delighted that such an important global audience is joining us today. Fonterra is pleased to partner with the New Zealand Government to support the hosting of this year's APEC CEO Summit. With APEC economies making up 8 of our top 10 export markets, the region is of critical importance to us. APEC has always been a place where member economies can work together to identify solutions to shared economic challenges. Never has this been more important. We have 2 big challenges in front of us today, and these are the themes of this year's APEC CEO Summit. They are how we drive a sustainable and inclusive economic recovery off the back of COVID-19, and how we transition to a low-carbon future. Business has a key role to play. For example, here at Fonterra, we've worked to keep trading routes and supply chains open. We've also worked with customers and supported them to adapt to the constantly changing operating environment as a result of COVID-19. And while we continue to grapple with COVID-19, APEC economies have held up reasonably well. APEC's strength in working together has stood us in good stead during this pandemic. APEC markets have remained open during COVID-19, and we continue to push for further trade liberalisation, and to do this in a way that supports the transition to a low-carbon future. We're proud that New Zealand dairy has the lowest carbon footprint in the world, but we also need to do much more. That's why our cooperative aspires to be net zero by 2050. Got some good work going on in manufacturing operations to transition out of coal, and are leaving no stone unturned in solving the methane puzzle. This is not only because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's what our customers expect of us. They have sustainability targets, and they need our help in achieving them. It's now my great honour and privilege to introduce our next keynote speaker, the President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping. China is a strategically important market for Fonterra, and we greatly value the strong New Zealand-China relationship. We're working together with customers and consumers in China to bring them quality New Zealand dairy. We do this through innovative applications and working with customers to reduce emissions across supply chains that support China's efforts in environmental sustainability. Please join me in welcoming the President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping. Thank you.
Leaders of the business community, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm very glad to meet you again. At present, COVID-19 is still ravaging the world, and the journey to global economic recovery remains a difficult and tortuous one. The Asia-Pacific has all along been an important engine driving the global economy. Indeed, it is among the first to regain the momentum of recovery in this crisis. At this historical juncture, it is important that we in the Asia-Pacific face up to the responsibility of the times, be in the driver's seat, and strive hard to meet the goal of building an Asia-Pacific community with a shared future. First, we need to make all-out efforts to fight COVID-19, to emerge from the shadow of the pandemic and achieve steady economic recovery at an early date is the most pressing task for us in the Asia-Pacific. At this trying time, it is all the more important that we should stay confident, keep a steady hand on the tiller, and forge ahead with determination. Over the past decades, we in the Asia-Pacific have been able to make advances by overcoming crises and achieve success by meeting challenges. In the face of this once-in-a-century test that is crucial to the future of humanity, we, the Asia-Pacific economies, as well as various sectors, should put our people and their lives first, follow the guidance of science, pull together with solidarity, extend assistance to each other, and fight to beat the pandemic. We should support each other in fighting COVID-19 and step up cooperation in areas such as testing methods, treatment medicine, and the research, development, production, and mutual recognition of vaccines to truly create synergy against COVID-19. We should translate the consensus that vaccines are a global public good into concrete actions, ensure their fair and equitable distribution, as well as their accessibility and affordability in developing countries, and thus work together to close the immunization gap. Second, we need to uphold openness and cooperation. Openness is the sure way for realizing human prosperity and progress. Over the past 30-plus years, thanks to our concerted efforts such as the adoption of the Bolger Goals and the Putrajaya Vision, as well as macroeconomic policy coordination and the building of high-standard free trade areas, we in the Asia-Pacific have succeeded in sustaining fast development for a fairly long period of time. Ultimately, this has become possible because we have endeavored to create an open economic architecture and forge an Asia-Pacific partnership based on mutual trust, inclusiveness, and win-win cooperation. No matter how global developments may evolve, the Asia-Pacific economy will keep its strengths of being resilient and robust. We should all be broad-minded, follow the underlying trend of the times, and proactively expand opening up. We should advance trade and investment liberalization and facilitation, keep industrial and supply chains stable and functioning, and promote the orderly flow of resources and inputs to boost economic recovery and achieve interconnected development. We should be forward-looking, move ahead, and reject practices of discrimination and exclusion of others. Attempts to draw ideological lines or form small circles on geopolitical grounds are bound to fail. The Asia-Pacific region cannot and should not relapse into the confrontation and division of the Cold War era. Third, we need to promote green transition. A sound eco-environment is the most basic public good that benefits all. We in the Asia-Pacific should make its post-pandemic recovery a green one and take the lead in making a science-based response to climate change. We need to follow the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and deliver on what was agreed upon in the Paris Agreement on Climate Change and at the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity. Developed economies should act on a sense of being in the same community with other economies, provide developing economies with funding and technological support, and help them enhance their capacity to conduct environmental governance. Working together, all of us can embark on a path of green, low-carbon, and sustainable development. Green and low-carbon transition is a systemic project that must be pursued across the board and in a coordinated way. In the Asia-Pacific, over 100 million people still live in abject poverty. Some economies are still plagued by inadequate infrastructure development, education, and healthcare, and they are weak in food security and energy supply. Without development, it will be impossible to pull the economic strength necessary for achieving green transition. Neglecting people's livelihood means loss of social support for pursuing green transition. We need to gain an accurate understanding of what sustainable development means, put the people first, and strike a balance between economic growth, ensuring people's well-being, and energy conservation and emissions reduction. This will enable us to catalyze green transition in the course of economic development and achieve greater development through green transition. Fourth, we need to actively promote innovation. Innovation is an important force driving human progress. I have often stressed that a country or region cannot prosper without innovation, or even with slow innovation. The Asia-Pacific has distinctive intellectual resources and a long tradition of innovation. Having created many new technologies, new industries, and new mechanisms, this region of ours has always been a global pace setter of innovation-driven development. Today, a new round of technological revolution and industrial transformation is well underway, and information technology, biotechnology, and manufacturing technology are developing rapidly. This has positioned us well to promote economic growth and respond to challenges such as major diseases, climate change, and natural disasters. We need to speed up scientific and technological innovation and institutional innovation, promote the commercialization of scientific and technological advances, and foster new drivers of growth so that innovation will boost both economic development and green transition. We need to scale up cooperation between member economies of the Asia-Pacific on scientific and technological innovation and foster an open, fair, equitable, and non-discriminatory environment for the development of science and technology. The business community, standing at the forefront of scientific and technological innovation, should strive to be a major force of increasing input in research and development and applying research outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, over the years, China's economic development has been an integral part of the Asia-Pacific cooperation process. China has attained the goal of fully building a moderately prosperous society within the set time frame, secured a historic success in eradicating absolute poverty, and embarked on a new journey toward fully building itself into a modern socialist country. This will create more opportunities for our region. China will remain firm in advancing reform and opening up so as to add impetus to economic development in the Asia-Pacific. China is committed to building a high-standard market system and will work to make new progress in reforming important areas and key links. China will pursue high-standard institutional opening up, continue to improve its business environment, and promote innovation-driven development of pilot free trade zones. China has ratified the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and it has applied for joining the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. In the course of RCEP implementation and the CPTPP negotiation, China will continue to shorten the negative list on foreign investment, promote all-round opening up of its agricultural and manufacturing sectors, expand the opening of the service sector, and treat domestic and foreign businesses as equals in accordance with law. As a Chinese saying goes, to get things right at the end, one needs to lay a sound foundation. To achieve a good result, one needs to be prudent from the start. Recently, the competent Chinese government departments are improving and better enforcing anti-monopoly laws and regulations and strengthening regulation over some sectors. This is called for to promote the sound development of the market economy in China. As a matter of fact, it is also a common practice in other countries. We will unswervingly consolidate and develop the public sector and unswervingly encourage, support, and guide the development of the non-public sector. We treat all types of market entities on an equal basis. And we are working to develop a unified, open, competitive, and orderly market system. This will enable us to cement the foundation for long-term development of the Chinese economy and better support businesses from both the Asia-Pacific and the wider world in investing and operating in China. China will advance green transition on all fronts and make its due contribution to boosting ecological conservation in the Asia-Pacific and beyond. For many years, I used to live in a small village on the lowest plateau, at a time when its eco-environment was undermined and its people were poverty-stricken. It had come to me that harms done to nature will eventually harm ourselves. China will actively promote ecological conservation. To us, lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. We will intensify comprehensive efforts to stem soil erosion and win the critical battle of pollution prevention and control. China will fully implement its national strategy on climate change response. Since I announced the goals of carbon peak and carbon neutrality last year, China has formulated an action plan for carbon dioxide peaking before 2030 and moved faster to put in place a 1+N policy framework. Here, 1 stands for the guiding principle and top-level design for carbon peak and carbon neutrality, and N refers to implementation plans for key areas and industries, including the action for green energy transition, the action for peaking carbon dioxide emissions in the industrial sector, the action for promoting green and low-carbon transportation, and the action for promoting circular economy for decarbonization purposes. China will strike a balance between low-carbon transition and ensuring the living needs of its people, and between development and carbon reduction, and will achieve carbon peak and carbon neutrality within the time frame we set. China's carbon reduction action is a profound economic and social transformation. However formidable the task may be, we will work tirelessly to make our contribution to promoting global green transition. Our carbon reduction action will also require massive investment, thus creating huge market opportunities and room for cooperation. The business communities across the Asia-Pacific are warmly welcome to join us in this endeavor. Together, we can usher in a future of green development. China will stay committed to promoting win-win cooperation and contribute to the economic development of the Asia-Pacific. China has all along been actively involved in regional cooperation in the Asia-Pacific, and it has endeavored to advance openness and cooperation in the region. China will continue to practice true multilateralism, uphold the WTO-centered multilateral trading system, take an active part in global economic governance, and promote the building of an open world economy. China will steadfastly advance high-quality Belt and Road cooperation, facilitate connectivity in the Asia-Pacific, ensure stable and smooth functioning of industrial and supply chains in the region, and deepen cooperation with all stakeholders in such areas as e-commerce and digital logistics. With these efforts, we can inject impetus into economic recovery and sustainable development in our region. At this year's United Nations General Assembly, I proposed a global development initiative calling for meeting the development needs of developing countries, ensuring their development opportunities, and thus achieving a more robust, greener, and more balanced global development. China will continue playing its role as a responsible major country. It will promote closer cooperation in areas such as global poverty reduction, food security, and development financing, and earnestly implement the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, thus building a global community of development with a shared future. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, over the years, as business leaders, you have witnessed and participated in China's development. I hope that you will continue to take a keen interest in and support China's development and achieve win-win in our cooperation. Working together, let us all be promoters of and contributors to unity and prosperity of the Asia-Pacific family. Thank you all.
Our products are used to restore the health of farm and orchard ecosystem through soil, plant and animal nutrition.
We're looking at bioremediating, cleaning our waterways through the seaweed system. The seaweed acts as a sponge to clean up the nitrogen, the phosphorus and heavy metals. The environmental impacts and benefits that seaweed can have both in our country and overseas are just exponential.
We're playing a long-term game. It's very exciting for me. It's exciting because I think about now my grandchildren and what they can benefit from that Comvita has continued to do.